crises seem ever more intractable. There is no doubt that the greatest impact has been felt in the developing world. Countries in crisis-affected regions, in spite of limited resources, have largely kept their doors open, preserving millions of lives. Some donors have been very generous, showing foresight and solidarity. Yet, the hospitality of those countries receiving most refugees has often been eclipsed by manufactured panic in other parts of the world. Globally, the international response to refugees has been piecemeal and unbalanced. Sharing responsibility, the foundation of our modern system for protecting refugees, is being replaced in countries with more resources by pushing responsibility on those countries less able to cope. And so refugees are pushed aside too, consigned to the margins, often in camps, cut off from the social and economic life of the communities hosting them. Humanitarian aid helps and remains vital, but is not enough and not adequate to turn the tide from despair to hope. As a new decade dawns with some 71 million people uprooted from their homes globally, inside and outside their countries, it's time to reboot our responses. We need a sweeping vision to inspire and engage people and institutions across society. A broad alliance of governments, the aid community, businesses, development institutions, civil society, faith groups, academia, sports and the arts, and refugees themselves. We represent that very alliance here today. We need a smart, comprehensive plan with global reach, and as of a year ago, we do have one. The Global Compact on Refugees provides a new blueprint for addressing refugee crisis, one rooted in protection principles and standards, but that speaks to 21st century challenges. It engages all parts of society to ensure refugees and their hosts get the support they need and deserve. It calls for fully formed action plans to assist countries that bear the brunt of refugee emergencies. Development policies that enable refugees and their hosts to thrive. Fair and predictable legal pathways to resettlement. And the means to return home in safety and dignity. The momentum is already there. The approach set out in the Compact builds on decades of experience, most notably in more recent large-scale refugee crises, like the Syria situation, that have inspired a fundamental shift in how we engage with refugees. And the comprehensive model, which the Compact proposes, is already being applied by a dozen forward-looking states, helping millions of refugees and their local hosts get into work, go to school, open bank accounts, get the health care they need, and in some cases find solutions that allow them to go home or build a future in new countries. We are no longer talking about bridging the humanitarian development divide. We are making that nexus happen, often linking it with peace efforts through the creativity, commitment, and leadership of development partners and some visionary governments. New partnerships between the private sector, a range of entities within host governments, financial institutions, and development investors are transforming remote refugee settlements and their surrounding communities into places of agriculture, commerce, and connected learning. New models of regional cooperation are helping address complex mixed flows in which refugees travel alongside others whose rights and vulnerabilities must not be ignored. Billions of dollars in new development resources are being channeled into refugee hosting communities that had previously been left to fend for themselves, and enabling national systems to include refugee populations until their plight is resolved. This forum is where we will give further substance to the compact through the pledges and contributions that you will announce. And this is where we will build the coalition of support to rally behind these extraordinary efforts and accelerate and expand them as we move into a new decade. The forum has been 1 year in the making, and I wish to thank all those who helped drive and shape the national and regional consultations and the huge preparatory work that has gone into developing new partnerships and preparing innovative contributions. I am also very glad to welcome among us some 80 refugees, representing a wide array of communities and refugee-led organizations and networks. You have played a pivotal role in shaping the forum, and your presence here will enrich and deepen our exchanges. Many of the discussions already started yesterday. 3 support platforms were launched to help sustain and drive the trailblazing work being carried out through the IGAD Nairobi Declaration in the East and Horn of Africa, the Solutions Strategy for Afghan Refugees, and the MIRPs in Central America and Mexico. These will provide a more solid foundation to international solidarity in 3 major and under-resourced situations of human displacement, and I call on all of you to help contribute to their success. Yesterday also saw the launch of the Global Academic Interdisciplinary Network, which will foster research and learning and provide new scholarship opportunities to refugees. And over the next 2 days, we can anticipate a vast array of innovative pledges and initiatives that will help transform the response to refugee crisis into a truly global endeavor, based on sharing responsibility within and across societies and regions. In the plenary debate, high-level dialogues and panels, spotlight sessions, and other events, we will focus on critical areas such as refugee inclusion, solutions, education, jobs and livelihoods, protection capacity, energy and infrastructure, so that by 2030 all refugee and neighboring host communities will have access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy. Ladies and gentlemen, we would be naive if we ignored the reality. The protection environment today is complex and troubling. We see refugees who have fled for their lives being demonized and turned into figures of fear. We see people making political capital by stoking public anxiety and directing it towards some of the world's most marginalized and vulnerable people. This is not only immoral, but narrows the space for practical solutions. But here, today, we have the counterweight to that. In the Global Compact on Refugees, we have a practical plan rooted in principles and values. We have a model for international action based not on cultivating fear, but on offering principled but feasible solutions. For centuries, experiences of exile and traditions of refuge, old traditions of hospitality, to meet the future reality of our complex and interdependent world. Over the next 2 days, we will take that blueprint and give it substance and meaning. Millions of refugees stand to benefit, and so do we. Thank you for being part of this journey. So let me go back to my role of moderator. And I would now like to invite all of you to watch a short film entitled Join Us, which captures the essence of our engagement and the challenges involved. Please.
Refugee.
People, children, women, men.
A newborn baby.
Over 25 million people forced to flee their country, and the number keeps going up.
عم بيصير احيانا بيجي شلل نصفي من المناظر اللي شافوهم بمدينه عفرين. نحن
It's almost like you enter a new chaos. You enter a new war.
We should never forget that when refugees come to a country, the first impacted is the local community.
This is a life and death situation for millions.
However, there is hope.
Traditionally, refugee responses have been humanitarian in nature. Now we're saying there is an important development component to it.
Stronger solidarity to refugee hosting countries is absolutely a must.
We can try and improve conditions for everybody, refugees and host communities alike.
Tulikuwa na ubaguzi, hatukukuwa na upendo, lakini wakati yenyewe tulichangia shamba, tunakuwa pamoja, tulishajuana, tunaanza pana mawazo.
I see refugees as an opportunity rather than as a threat.
They help us and we help them. This is like a good exchange.
Refugees need to be included in new communities and given the chance to realize their potential.
There are a lot of qualified refugees who just want to start a new life.
This project is for me like the key of my dreams, so I can open the door and my dreams come true.
We want them to settle in and feel comfortable in our community, and we want them to feel safe.
هاي السفرة مهمة كتير إلي، أهم شيء بالنسبة لمستقبل أولادي، مستقبل تعليمهم.
Que después de 10 años de vivir aquí, dentro de mí algo ya ha cambiado, o sea, ya tengo algo también italiano.
Solutions are when the time is right.
أول ما أجيت يعني تفاجأت كتير إنه دمار خراب شوي شوي زبطنا وضعنا.
Ma zjata لقد ما میخوایم دو تیم ملی برم و خدمت افغانستان را کنم نام شهادة دیگر.
رسالتي للناس اللي بتحب تساعد، الناس اللي فيها بذرة الخير إنها تشتغل عليها وتنميها.
Taking care of refugees must be a global and shared responsibility.
With the Global Compact on Refugees, we are partners, working together as one. Join us.
I do not need to add commentaries to this short video that resumes the objective of this forum. And it is now my great pleasure to give the floor to the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It is a pleasure to join you. If I may, I would like to begin with a short personal reflection. coming to Geneva for this refugee forum carries great meaning and emotions for me. I feel I am among friends, not only good colleagues, past and present, but also friends of one of the great causes of this or any time, answering the plight of people forced from their homes by war, conflict or persecution. I have been fortunate to have had many formative experiences in my life. As a social volunteer in the poor neighborhoods of Lisbon, being part of a democratic revolution in my country, public service in parliament and government. But without diminishing any of those involvements, I would place at the top of the list the decade I served as United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Those were difficult years, a period that saw skyrocketing flows of people, plummeting solidarity among nations, and spreading discrimination against victims that compounded their already dire circumstances. We tried our best to reduce suffering and improve lives. Thanks to outstanding work by UNHCR and the humanitarian community and support from many leaders and partners, I believe we were making a difference. Of course, there is far more to do. The numbers of refugees, the levels of hatred, and the threats to long-established norms and standards all remain high. Working as High Commissioner brought me in touch with people at their most vulnerable moments, and they shared with me their suffering, their yearnings, their anger, and I could never return to the comfort of my own house without feeling shaken and frustrated myself. Through their eyes, I saw in dramatic fashion certain basic facts about our world today. I saw the way lives can be upended in an instant when struck by conflict or disaster. The way new megatrends, above all climate change, are creating new movements of people. And the way we are all connected as the eruptions and economies bleed across borders near and far. And I also saw a fundamental human trait, the will to kindness, acts of compassion, the impulse of one person to help another in trauma. These are among the essential hallmarks of humanity and inspired my day, here, and in the past. I have brought those encounters and memories into my current role. In all it does, the United Nations is measured by how we treat the most vulnerable among us. One might say that as refugees go, so goes the world. That sensibility is what brings us together today. And so I very much wish to thank the government of Switzerland for co-hosting this important event together with UNHCR. And I'm also grateful to the co-conveners, the governments of Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Germany, Pakistan and Turkey, which are all generous hosts of refugees and long-standing champions of the cause, but with an enormous generosity. And I learned that generosity is not always proportional to wealth. The community must do far more to shoulder this responsibility together. The global context can seem forbidding. Divisions and rivalries around the world are contributing to unpredictability and insecurity. Their homes, including 25 million refugees. And UNHCR has described these numbers as the highest levels of displacement on record. Now, more than ever, we need international cooperation and practical, effective responses. And this is the reason why we are here. Better answers admirably host the vast majority of refugees and warrant greater support, not just in the humanitarian response, but also in the context of development plans, as well as more financial support. And more fundamentally, we need to re-establish the integrity of the international refugee protection regime with the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1967 Protocol at its core. Indeed, At a time when the right to asylum is under assault, when so many borders and doors are being closed to refugees, when even child refugees can be divided from their families, we need to reaffirm the human rights of refugees. And the Global Compact on Refugees gives us the blueprint. And this forum is an opportunity to give the implementation of the Compact energy and dynamism by drawing together the expertise, ideas, resources, commitments and new forms of collaboration that will drive it forward. I urge you to be bold and concrete in the pledges you will make. This is a moment for ambition. It is a moment to jettison a model of support that too often left refugees for decades with their lives on hold, confined to camps, just scraping by, unable to flourish or contribute. It is a moment to build a more equitable response to refugee crises through a sharing of responsibility. Humankind came together to address many huge refugee challenges across the 20th century. We should be able to do the same in the 21st. This is not an unmanageable situation. This is a moment to mobilize international cooperation and solidarity, to galvanize real progress on access to education, livelihoods and energy, to build the resilience of refugees and their host communities, to preserve humanitarian space and access to people in need, and to strengthen services, in particular for people with disabilities and people who have faced sexual or gender-based violence. This work needs diverse coalitions. And I am encouraged that this forum brings together states, refugees and stateless people, international and regional organizations, business leaders, financial institutions, the civil society, faith organizations, the arts and the world of sport. And I'm also glad that bilateral, regional and multilateral development institutions are emerging as central to these efforts. Large refugee flows can create enormous structural strains and undermine development advances, especially where displacement becomes protracted and hosting countries have huge development challenges. Data and technological innovation will also be crucial. And we must ensure a comprehensive approach that addresses humanitarian, development, human rights and security aspects, targeting root causes and working to build and sustain peace. United Nations reforms will help us advance in relevant development projects. We will advocate for refugees and returnees to have access to national services in countries of origin, countries of transit and refugee hosting countries. And we will advocate for their inclusion in regional frameworks and national development plans and reviews, as well as the new UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. And we will work to provide technical, financial and programming support to host countries for this purpose. Dear friends, the Global Compact on Refugees is our collective achievement and our collective responsibility. It speaks to the plight of millions of people, and it speaks to the heart of the mission of the United Nations. Throughout human history, people everywhere have provided shelter to strangers seeking refuge, bound to them by a sense of duty and humanity. Solidarity runs deep in the human character. And today we must do all we can to enable that humanitarian spirit to prevail over those who today seem so determined to extinguish it. We cannot afford to abandon refugees to hopelessness, nor their hosts to bear the responsibility alone. Next year marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations, a moment when tens of millions of people uprooted by war and persecution were piecing together their lives and starting to rebuild a future. Helping them to secure that future and ensuring a right to refuge for generations that would follow were pressing priorities of the new United Nations, then born. Today, protecting refugees and resolving displacement remain an imperative. This work is an expression of our determination to live and prosper together as a community of peoples and nations. Together, through this forum and the implementation of a landmark global compact, we can chart a bold and practical path to help millions of people find protection and dignity, and to help all of us find a shared path towards a better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. And I am now pleased to call upon the co-conveners of the forum, starting with Costa Rica. Señor Presidente, tiene la palabra.
Excelencias, distinguidos delegados, damas y caballeros. Vengo de un país con una larga tradición de proveer refugio a personas desplazadas contra su voluntad por motivos de seguridad o violencia. Y por lo tanto, me siento muy honrado de coauspiciar este primer foro global de refugiados junto con los países amigos de Etiopía, Alemania, Pakistán, Turquía y Suiza, nuestro coanfitrión. It is a call very close to our hearts. This occasion provides us the opportunity to discuss ways to broaden our shared response to this humanitarian challenge in the midst of the one-year anniversary of the Global Compact on Refugees. It is a painful paradox that in an age so abundant in economic and technological developments, humanity has not been able to overcome one of its most evident problems, but also has seen an increase in the number of forcibly displaced persons. We must take a stand against this failure and adopt concrete action to enhance the capacity of host countries to help the affected people. The Americas is no stranger to this phenomenon. Historically, the Americas is the result of a mix between the native populations and the influx of various waves of migrants and refugees from all around the world. In the most recent decades, we have seen the source of significant outflows, both inter-regional and towards other regions of the world. We all know about the millions of Venezuelans fleeing their country in the last few years, or the need to support Haiti and other countries facing migration flows, and the effort their neighbors have been doing to cope with the influxes they receive. Historically, displaced people have come to Costa Rica, all across the Atlantic, as well from the Southern Cone in the 70s and from Central America countries in the 80s. The start of this century was marked with a strong influx of Colombians, and this decade by the arrival of Venezuelans, Haitians, and citizens from other Caribbean countries, as well from the Central American Northern Triangle. However, in the last 2 years, people from Nicaragua constitute the vast majority submitting to our national authorities more than 70,000 refugee requests in 2018 and 2019 alone, in a country with a population of just 5 million people. And since the political crisis in Nicaragua is yet not resolved, and unless and until it's done in a satisfactory manner to all involved, there is a significant risk for continued displacement of Nicaraguans into our country. Here, it is important to note that by 2019, Costa Rica is the Latin American country with the highest immigrant population as a percentage of its total population, with 10.5% according to UN data, more than doubling the rate of the second highest country, Chile, which has 5%. Time and again, my country has responded to the burden posed by heavily immigrant flow, with another long-standing Costa Rican tradition, a human rights approach. An element of this approach has always been the effort to integrate both refugees and migrants into our social fabric and to give them the access to our social protection programs, in particular those related to public health and education, which both have universal coverage. Every child that crosses our borders is given the same rights as Costa Rican children. We have been successful in including migrant and refugee children in schools and upholding their human rights. Costa Rica's public education is free and mandatory for all children in school age. Our public health system, in addition to its well-known achievements, is always free for underage persons, pregnant women, and people on emergency situations. Now, with the support of ACNUR, we will add to that providing medical insurance throughout the country to all the asylum seekers and their families for 1 year, regardless of age and migratory condition. In a sense, our approach on this field has always been consistent, even if pre-existent, with the principles of the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants that led to the adoption both of the compact we commemorate today and the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration. Those first year we will celebrate in 2 days. In particular, we have always agreed with paragraph 6 of the declaration when making clear that, quote, through their treatment is governed by separate legal frameworks. Refugees and migrants have the same universal human rights and fundamental freedoms. They also face many common challenges and have similar vulnerabilities, including in the context of large movements, unquote. On the top of the universal programs already mentioned, and as part of our effort to reach social inclusion for all in need, we're currently providing social benefits, mostly conditional cash transfer, except in the case of direct support to refugees, with unconditional, to over 115,000 immigrant households, which represent 18% of the population in poverty. But the challenges remain. There is still a significant part of the immigrant and refugee population to be covered. At the same time, the efforts to offer access to both the universal social programs and the cash social benefits for such a high percentage of immigrants has put a significant pressure over the already strained public finances of Costa Rica. As you may know, just last year, we passed a law to deal with serious fiscal imbalances accumulated over a decade and to strengthen public finances in a process that will require stricter finance discipline. Here, another paradox arises. Due to our human rights approach and long-standing tradition of helping forcibly displaced persons, Costa Rica has been doing and will continue to do a significant investment of public resources on these areas. But fiscal constraints will make it impossible to increase the funding to cover for the immigrant population that still needs our support. On the other hand, we already have the technical capacity and tools in place to develop a sophisticated and precise social policy to reach the population of interest still uncovered by our current investments. Thanks to the data provided by an integrated and unique national system of beneficiaries called CINIRUVE by its Spanish acronym, we can reach them with pinpoint accuracy. Indeed, using administrative records of the systems from the integration of healthcare, social welfare, electoral, and migrant data sets, we have accurate information of our population, national and migrants, that resembles a living census. With this data, it is possible to draw the main characteristics of the migrant population and to locate them precisely by district, even by neighborhood or block. This system has allowed us to provide visibility to refugees and migrants in vulnerability conditions in order to identify their needs and the financial resources required to tackle their needs. The solution to this predicament should be found building upon the guiding principle of burdens and responsibility sharing to better protect and assist refugees and support host countries and communities. On the paragraph 5 of the Compact, Costa Rica feels confident that its effort, both historical and current, fit perfectly with the situation described by paragraph 14 of the Compact. Quote, countries that receive and host refugees, often for extended periods, make an immense contribution from their own limited resources to the collective good, and indeed to the cause of humanity. It is imperative that these countries obtain tangible support of the international community as a whole in leading the response, unquote. The existence of a shared responsibility principle, it's only possible in a multilateral approach to the reality of today's world and from a human rights perspective that protects people regardless of its origin. We need international cooperation in order to guarantee financial sustainability to maintain and expand the coverage of our social programs to refugee and migrant people that come to my country. There is a gap between what countries like Costa Rica are providing with great effort to the refugees and what their actual needs are. This gap needs to be closed through international cooperation, not only for the benefit of hosts. If not, we will be failing to the most vulnerable. Even though we are a so-called middle-income country, this aggregate masks the fact that inequality is present in our country, similar to the rest of the region. Refugees become part of a vulnerable sector of our society. Cooperation should be fitted to this reality. Other type of consideration will end up in exclusion of the most vulnerable, leaving them behind. We can assure that we will continue to do our best to host and fully integrate forcibly displaced persons that come to our borders, and that we also have in place the technical capacity to reach beneficiaries in a highly efficient and effective manner, thus providing the highest return of investment to any support given to the programs that we have prepared to discuss with you in detail during the next days. In this regard, we also have the disposition to share with all interest parties the best practices we have developed, as well as those we can learn to strengthen the ability to deal with the challenges placed by a large proportion of immigrants and refugees we host. And I am sure it is also the case of all the Latin American countries. The only ethical and practical approach is to put the human person in the center of all public policies. And to make this vision a reality, we must integrate the effective collaboration and cooperation between the countries and regions. Just like in the climate crisis, multilateralism is key to achieve results. Excelencias, millones de personas esperan resultados concretos, acciones ambiciosas e innovadoras que nos permitan responder a sus necesidades. traduzcamos los compromisos en acciones que transformen la vida de todas estas personas. No dejar a nadie atrás significa ser valientes, adoptar decisiones correctas, nadar contracorriente. Para eso estamos aquí. That's why we are here today. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. I would now like to call on Pakistan. Honorable Prime Minister, you have the floor.
I'm honored today to co-convene the first global refugee forum with the leaders of Turkey, Ethiopia, Germany, and Costa Rica. I thank especially the government of Switzerland and the UNHCR for hosting the forum. I commend Secretary General and High Commissioner Grandi for the strong advocacy of the refugee causes. But I want to especially pay a tribute to President Erdogan of Turkey and the people of Turkey for hosting the largest refugee population. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to speak about Pakistan. Pakistan was born out of the biggest refugee problem in the history of mankind. And we were inspired by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was a refugee. I'm very proud to say that Pakistan hosted at 1.4 million refugees. And still, after 40 years, Pakistan still has 1.4 million registered refugees. And overall, the Afghans in Pakistan number 3 million. Countries that do not have resources, countries that cannot look after their own population, that cannot provide their basic needs, that are struggling to develop their human resources. For them, a large refugee population causes problems which cannot be imagined by the richer countries. I see the European countries struggling with the refugee problems. I see the emergence of the right wing, which cashes in on the public distress faced by the public because of lack of jobs. They cash in on the refugees. So we in Pakistan have been through this. 4 million refugees, and today almost 3 million refugees. A country where there's massive unemployment. We know what we go through. As a Prime Minister, I can tell you that we face daily problems where our people want jobs, and clearly the refugees can become a target. But I'm very proud of my people, the way the people of Pakistan have hosted the refugees. The hospitality shown to the refugees for over 40 years. But the main point I want to make here today is that prevention is better than cure. We must all try and prevent people from becoming refugees. Pakistan is, and again, I'm proud to say we are trying our best now in the peace process in Afghanistan. so that the refugees can go back with dignity. And we are praying that this peace process now succeeds. There's a political settlement in Afghanistan, so that the people of Afghanistan who've been suffering for 40 years of conflict, finally, they too can enjoy the dividends of peace. Mr. Secretary General and High Commissioner, one of the things I especially wanted to come here and point out, and I do want to tell the whole world that they should be aware of one of the biggest impending refugee crises about to take place. In India, on the 5th of August this year, Indian forces laid siege to the people of Kashmir. Since 5th of August, 8 million Kashmiris have been literally shut inside. Their rights have been taken, people have been imprisoned, the leaders are in jail, all communication has been cut off. But the most important thing which the world needs to understand is that the professed aim is to change the demography of Kashmir from a Muslim majority to a Muslim minority. Now, if this is what the professed aim is, we are likely to have another refugee crisis. A refugee crisis that would dwarf other crises. In the United Nations General Assembly, I tried to appeal to the world community that they must take notice of this. What is going to happen? The people are under siege in Kashmir. Whenever the curfew is lifted, there are 900,000 Indian troops there. What is going to happen then? They're trying to change the demography by settling in Hindu population into Kashmir. What is going to happen then? So we know from our past experience, prevention is better than cure. If the world acts right now and puts pressure on the Indian government to stop this illegal activity, we could prevent this crisis. But we all know once a crisis starts, once there is a crisis, we all know that it's as we know right now, as we know what is happening, as we know what is going on in Turkey with the refugees. We all know that it's very difficult, it's complicated. So many issues come in the way. So number one, I would like the world community to take notice of what is happening. We in Pakistan are not just worried that there'll be a refugee crisis. We are worried that this could lead to a conflict between two nuclear-armed countries. And so the Secretary General of UN is sitting here. I'm looking forward to inviting you to Pakistan in February when we host the refugee conference there. But I would really appeal to the world community that this is the time to take notice. Secondly, there is another thing happening in India. In Assam, the government has passed a Citizen Registration Act. What does that mean? That means that every citizen has to prove their citizenship. This is what happened in Myanmar. Before the ethnic cleansing of Muslims started there, they were all supposed to first prove their citizenship. This is what is happening in Assam. Some 2 million people, mostly Muslims, are now required to prove that they actually are citizens of India. And according to one of the Indian ministers, the same act will, by 2024, will be all over India. So, along with this act, there is another law just recently passed, that from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, any minority that is persecuted can find citizenship in India. That means that anyone except Muslims can find citizenship in India. So therefore, if you put these two acts together, when all other religious minorities, Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, they can come back and seek asylum in India, so they will get citizenship, but not Muslims. So there are 200 Muslims in India. If 2 or 3% of them cannot prove their citizenship, where will they go? So this is another thing. There are riots in India already, people are out in the streets. I would urge the international community to please look into this, because we know once the crisis happens, it's much more difficult. I repeat, it's much more difficult to control it. It's much easier right now for the world community to step in and see what is happening. And I urge them, because we in Pakistan stand to suffer. As it is a country that is hosting 3 million refugees, a country which is trying to develop its own human beings, provide them the basic necessities, our country will not be able to accommodate more refugees. So I especially came here, Mr. Secretary General and High Commissioner, I especially came here that this is the time for the world community to take notice. What is happening next door can have consequences, can have an impact on the refugee population of the world, which is unprecedented. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I would now like to call on Ethiopia. Deputy Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, Head of States and Governments, Your Excellency, Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Filippo Grandi, High Commissioner for Refugees, Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me at the outset to convey the warm greetings and best wishes of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who wanted to be among us you, but was unable to do so due to urgent matters that needed his personal attention. I also would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the government of Switzerland for the warm hospitality accorded to my delegation since our arrival in this beautiful city of Geneva. Many thanks also go to High Commissioner Filippo Grandi and his team, who have tirelessly worked in the excellent preparation for the first Global Refugee Forum. Mr. Chairman, the Global Refugee Forum is happening at this critical time, where more than 70 million people are currently forcibly displaced, of whom 25 million are refugees. Undoubtedly, the staggering number of forcibly displaced persons has stretched our capacities for response to its limits. The nuance of the challenge, however, demands looking beyond these figures. As you all know, today, refugee situations remain protracted with an average of 7 years. Achieving political solutions to conflicts remain elusive in many areas, leaving refugees with no hope for imminent solutions. The drivers of displacement have also changed manifestly with the growing impact of climate change, natural disasters, inequality, and deprivation. However, over the years, the number of charitable hands who warmly welcome refugees have gone down. Similarly, the international protection system is facing assault from a rising populism and anti-refugee and migrant sentiments elsewhere. I believe that these challenges have profoundly shaped our views about the global refugee response system. The inadequacy of our support shows us that there is a long way to go in giving full effect of the principle of solidarity. The current refugees response system, which rests on few donors and host states, is untenable to meet our collective aspiration for predictable, adequately sourced and responsive refugee response systems. Addressing refugee need has also proven to be strongly linked to the need of host communities who bear the brunt of the challenges in hosting refugees firsthand. Here in Ethiopia, firmly believe that the adoption of the Global Compact on Refugee was nothing but a step in the right direction to address the challenge of the day. Mr. Chairperson, the Global Refugee Forum comes also at an opportune time to my country, Ethiopia, which is passing through deep political and economic reforms foregrounded on the cardinal principle of togetherness, integration, and synergy in our volatile region. The new administration led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has made important strides in introducing democratic reform in Ethiopia. This includes release of thousands of political leaders, journalists, bloggers, and abolishing restrictive laws that stifled dissent. Opposition parties who were in exile were invited to return to their country and are now freely operating. Ethiopia's reform process is setting the region also into a new trajectory of peace, democracy, and regional integration. Nothing exemplifies the success of this reform than the 2019 Nobel Peace Award given to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The Prime Minister's appeal that search for peace should be guided by the deep sense of the cardinal moral principle. I am my brothers and sisters' keeper resonates very much with the main objective of this forum. Indeed, the first step to bring real change starts in having a mindset that the responsibility to support refugees is a collective responsibility of humanity. On the other hand, Mr. Chairperson, Ethiopia has a proud history of providing protection of and assistance to refugees and asylum seekers, which date back to the 7th century. While we have our own development challenges and limited resources, and in spite of the significant strain on our natural resources, Ethiopia has kept its doors open for refugees. We strongly believe that such a long-standing generosity is a demonstration of exemplary level of solidarity to our brothers and sisters or peoples of our region. My government has always been committed to initiate and implement comprehensive approach toward this refugee response. In this regard, at the Leaders' Summit on Refugees in September 2016 in New York, the government of Ethiopia has made bold commitments through the 9 pledges that aim to sustainably improve the lives of refugees and host communities. Since then, in collaboration with a wide range of stakeholders, Ethiopia has already made a significant progress in achieving some of the objectives of the Global Compact on Refugees. This is particularly evident in the increasing number of refugee enrollment in all levels of education, including tertiary education, and jobs and livelihood opportunities. In addition, the number of refugees residing outside of the camp have significantly increased. The new refugee law that was adopted in 2019 sets a legal framework to enhance freedom of movement and inclusion of refugees in our national systems. Furthermore, the government of Ethiopia has formally launched the Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework at national and local levels in November 2017. And it has also embraced the subsequent adoption of the Global Compact on Refugee in December 2018. At National Comprehensive Refugee Response Strategy is tabled a National Comprehensive Refugee Strategy is tabled for approval for Council of Ministers, a view to gradually creating self-reliant and resilient refugees and host communities through enhancing harmonized and integrated service and solutions. Mr. Chairperson, now allow me to announce the government of Ethiopia's new pledges that are strongly linked with existing commitments aligned with the focus area of the forum. The government of Ethiopia, therefore, commits to 1. Create up to 90,000 socio-economic opportunities through agricultural and livestock value chains that benefits both refugees and host communities. 2. Provide quality and accredited skills training in 20,000 host and refugees on equitable basis, taking into account the labor market demand and linkage with existing and new commitments in expanding socio-economic opportunities. 3rd, provide market-based and sustainable household and facility-based energy solutions for 3 million host and refugees through promoting clean and renewable energy sources. 4, strengthening the government of Ethiopia's asylum system and social protection capacity. In this respect, I want to stress that the rollout and operationalization of the aforementioned pledge is critically dependent on additional and adequate external financing from the international community. In closing, I would like to call upon all stakeholders to work together in tackling the root cause of forced displacement. It is also important we give due attention in ensuring reintegration of refugees remains sustainable. We also need to join hands in expanding the government of Ethiopia's commitment to deepen inclusive policies towards refugees, brothers and sisters. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister, especially for your important and concrete pledges. And I would now like to call on Germany. Minister, you have the floor.
Verehrte Damen und Herren, Staats- und Regierungschefs, Minister und Abgeordnete, Exzellenzen, lieber Filippo, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, den Auftakt zum Weltflüchtlingstag hast du, lieber Filippo, dieses Jahr in Berlin verbracht. An der Freien Universität hast du mit Studierenden über 2 Fragen diskutiert. Is there a global refugee crisis or is global solidarity in crisis? Es ist keine Flüchtlingskrise, denn die Zahl von Flüchtlingen weltweit ist in Wirklichkeit nur das Symptom einer ganz anderen Krise, einer tiefen Krise der internationalen Zusammenarbeit. Immer mehr Menschen fliehen, weil wir, die internationale Gemeinschaft, keine Lösungen finden für die Dauerkrisen und Konflikte wie in Syrien, Afghanistan oder Somalia, um nur einige zu nennen. Die Ärmsten tragen derzeit die schwerste Last. 9 der 10 größten Aufnahmeländer sind Länder mit niedrigem und mittlerem Einkommen. Das einzige Industrieland in dieser Gruppe ist Deutschland. Und gerade einmal 20% der 193 Staaten beteiligen sich in nennenswerter Weise bei der Versorgung der über 70 Millionen Menschen, die weltweit auf der Flucht sind. Und dies, obwohl die Genfer Flüchtlingskonvention für uns alle gilt. Solche anonymen Millionenzahlen werden oft missbraucht, auch bei uns in Deutschland. Sie werden missbraucht, weil sich damit Angst und Hass schüren und Hetzkampagnen befeuern lassen. Und deshalb ist mir eines ganz besonders wichtig, dass wir uns bei allem, was wir tun und entscheiden, immer klar machen, hinter jeder dieser Zahlen stehen Menschen mit ihrer ganz persönlichen Geschichte. Statistiken sind Menschen, denen die Tränen abgewischt wurden. So fasst es ein Sprichwort treffend zusammen. Die Botschaft, die von diesem globalen Treffen ausgehen muss, sie lautet: Wir wollen mehr Solidarität im Umgang mit Flüchtlingen, mehr internationale Zusammenarbeit mit den Aufnahmeländern, mehr Multilateralismus. Über 400 Delegationen, Regierungen, Nichtregierungsorganisationen, Flüchtlingsvertreter, die Wirtschaft sind heute hierher gekommen. Und das ist ein starkes Zeichen. Eines, das mich zuversichtlich macht, dass es nicht nur bei Appellen bleibt hier in Genf. Also blicken wir auf das, was wir ändern müssen, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren. Erstens, wir müssen die Lasten auf mehr und breitere Schultern verteilen. Und zweitens, wir müssen Flüchtlingen Perspektiven bieten für ein selbstbestimmtes Leben, ein Leben in Würde. Zu beidem wird Deutschland weiter beitragen in seiner Doppelrolle als zweitgrößter Geber und als 5. größtes Aufnahmeland von Flüchtlingen. Wir haben in den letzten Jahren erlebt, dass es selbst für ein Land unserer Größe und Wirtschaftskraft nicht leicht ist, Hunderttausende Flüchtlinge aufzunehmen und zu integrieren. Aber wie viel mehr gilt das für Länder mit weniger Ressourcen? Länder wie Pakistan, Äthiopien, Costa Rica oder die Türkei, die heute mit uns dieses Podium teilen. Die Aufnahmeländer in Afrika, Asien und Lateinamerika haben unseren allergrößten Respekt und unsere allergrößte Anerkennung verdient für das, was sie leisten. Aber damit ist es nicht getan. Es braucht auch tatkräftige Unterstützung. Deshalb hilft die Europäische Union der Türkei, die mehr Flüchtlinge als jedes andere Land aufgenommen hat, mit 6 Milliarden Euro bei der Versorgung und Integration dieser Menschen. Und deshalb unterstützen wir den Vorschlag neuer regionaler Unterstützungsplattformen, zum Beispiel um die Lage afghanischer Flüchtlinge zu verbessern. Für viele Flüchtlinge, die keine Perspektive auf eine Rückkehr in ihr Heimatland haben, die aber auch nicht im Erstaufnahmeland bleiben können, bleibt Resettlement oft die einzige Hoffnung. Dennoch sind derzeit nur 25 Länder weltweit überhaupt dazu bereit. Deutschland wird die Zahl seiner Resettlement-Plätze im nächsten Jahr noch einmal erhöhen und ein Trend, den wir auch in Zukunft fortsetzen wollen. Und natürlich können die Vereinten Nationen, die Aufnahmeländer und die vielen im Flüchtlingsschutz Engagierten sich auch weiterhin auf finanzielle Unterstützung verlassen, die sie auch verdient haben. In den vergangenen 6 Jahren hat Deutschland seine humanitäre Hilfe vervierfacht auf 1,6 Milliarden Euro in diesem Jahr. Einer unserer größten und wichtigsten Partner ist dabei und bleibt auch der UNHCR. In diesem Jahr haben wir unsere ungebundenen Beiträge für die Arbeit des UNHCR mehr als verdoppelt. Und ich freue mich, auch ankündigen zu können, dass wir auch 2020 auf ähnlichem Niveau wie 2019 den UNHCR unterstützen werden und mit einer ersten Tranche von 124 Millionen Euro, die wir bereits heute fest zusagen können. Auch durch unsere Entwicklungszusammenarbeit arbeiten wir daran, Fluchtursachen zu mindern und Flüchtlinge besser zu integrieren. In diesem Jahr haben wir dafür 1,3 Milliarden Euro eingesetzt und weit über 10 Millionen Menschen weltweit damit erreicht. Und auch dieses Engagement einer noch engeren Verzahnung von humanitärer Hilfe, Entwicklungszusammenarbeit und Friedensförderung werden wir und müssen wir konsequent fortsetzen. Meine Damen und Herren, unsere zweite Botschaft heute lautet: Lasst uns Flüchtlingen bessere Perspektiven bieten. Und das setzt voraus, dass wir unseren Blick auf Flüchtlinge ändern. Wir reden in der internationalen Zusammenarbeit ständig von Resilienz und wie wir sie stärken können. Warum fördern wir dann nicht gezielt diejenigen, die bereits ein riesiges Maß an Resilienz bewiesen haben? Menschen, die wissen, was es bedeutet, alles zu verlieren und wieder neu anfangen zu müssen. Und davon profitieren gerade auch die Aufnahmeländer. Und wie sehr, das ist mir gerade heute Morgen noch einmal deutlich geworden, als ich mit einigen jungen Flüchtlingen hier gesprochen habe, die in Deutschland leben. Einer von ihnen ist Muhammad Shishani. Er musste 2013 vor dem Krieg in Syrien fliehen. In Damaskus hatte er studiert, Bauingenieurwesen. Im Libanon aber mit einer Million syrischer Flüchtlinge fand er allenfalls Gelegenheitsjobs, lebte zudem in ständiger Angst davor, nach Syrien zurückkehren zu müssen. Mohammed hat sich vor 5 Jahren für ein Stipendium des Deutschen Akademischen Austauschdienstes beworben. Ein Stipendium, das Flüchtlingen wie ihm ein Studium in Deutschland ermöglicht. Heute arbeitet er an seiner Doktorarbeit und forscht über die Auswirkungen des Klimawandels. Und nebenbei unterstützt er andere Flüchtlinge dabei, sich im Studium in Deutschland zurechtzufinden. Ich glaube, diese Solidarität, die Menschen wie Muhammad mitbringen, macht jedes Land reicher. Und auf die Frage, woher er die Kraft auf seinem Weg genommen hat, antwortete er: Bildung war mein Lebensretter. Und das, meine Damen und Herren, sollten wir uns alle zu Herzen nehmen. Und du, lieber Filippo, hast das auf den Punkt gebracht, als du im Sommer in Berlin von einer Refugee Education Crisis gesprochen hast. Es freut mich daher, dass ich heute eine umfassende Zusage der Bundesregierung zu diesem zentralen Ziel des globalen Flüchtlingspakts machen kann. Wir werden nächstes Jahr über 13 Millionen Euro für eine Initiative bereitstellen, die nach einem der berühmtesten deutschen Flüchtlinge benannt wurde, Albert Einstein. 8.200 Stipendien hat sie alleine dieses Jahr an Flüchtlingen in 54 Ländern vergeben. Und ich freue mich auch sehr, dass wir mit Dänemark einen neuen Partner gefunden haben, mit dem wir dieses Programm nun gemeinsam mit dem UNHCR auf multilaterale Beine stellen können. Und wir werden darüber hinaus die Philipp-Schwarz-Initiative der Alexander von Humboldt-Stiftung mit über 10 Millionen Euro fördern und so verfolgte Wissenschaftlerinnen und Wissenschaftler unterstützen. Und wir werden unsere Beschäftigungsoffensive im Nahen Osten, wo wir bereits 300 Millionen Euro bereitgestellt haben, fortsetzen können, auch in Zukunft. Und noch in diesem Jahr werden wir unseren Beitrag für das Education Cannot Wait Programm für 16 Millionen aufstocken, um Kindern und Jugendlichen in Konfliktgebieten eine Bildungschance zu ermöglichen. Und auch in Deutschland selbst werden wir die Integration von Flüchtlingen an Hochschulen weiter fördern, jährlich mit 27 Millionen Euro. Meine Damen und Herren, das Phänomen, dass Menschen vor Krieg und Hunger, vor Naturkatastrophen oder Verfolgung fliehen, ist so alt wie die Menschheit selbst. Es wird nie verschwinden. Aber gemeinsam kann es uns gelingen, besser mit den Folgen von Flucht umzugehen. Und unser Treffen heute ist dabei ein wichtiger Schritt. Und wenn wir auf dem weiteren Weg nach Motivation suchen, die wir alle gut gebrauchen können bei diesem Thema, dann lassen Sie uns auf diejenigen schauen, um die es geht. Menschen wie Mohammed, den Doktoranden aus Damaskus. Wenn wir das Potenzial dieser Menschen stärken, dann wird die vermeintliche Flüchtlingskrise zu einer Flüchtlingschance. Vielen Dank.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Heiko, also for your very important pledges. And I would now like to call on Turkey. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Değerli devlet ve hükümet başkanları, Sayın Genel Sekreter, Sayın Yüksek Komiser, saygıdeğer hanımefendiler ve efendiler, sizleri ülkem ve milletim adına saygıyla selamlıyorum. Birleşmiş Milletler Mülteciler Yüksek Komiseri Sayın Grandi'ye ve İsviçre Federal Dışişleri Bakanı Sayın Kassis'e sergiledikleri ev sahipliği için ayrıca teşekkür ediyorum. Şahsımı ve heyetimi bu önemli ve anlamlı etkinliğe eş başkan olarak davet eden Sayın Genel Sekreter ve Sayın Yüksek Komisere şükranlarımı sunuyorum. Uluslararası toplum geçmişte emsaline az rastlanır bir göç kriziyle karşı karşıya bulunuyor. Bugün dünya genelinde 260 milyona yakın göçmen, 71 milyonun üzerinde yerlerinden edilmiş kişi ve 25 milyonu aşkın mülteci bulunuyor. Bu sayı ekonomik nedenler yanında açlık, kıtlık, iç savaşlar, terör saldırıları ve siyasi belirsizlikler gibi sebeplerle gün geçtikçe artıyor. İnsanlar sadece daha iyi bir iş, daha yüksek bir hayat standardı için değil, hayatlarını idame ettirebilmek için karınlarını doyurabilmek, çocuklarına bir lokma ekmek bulabilmek için göç etmek zorunda kalıyor. Çıkılan bu umut yolculukları maalesef çoğu zaman ölümle, felaketle sonuçlanıyor. Sadece son 7 sene içinde çoğu kadın ve çocuk 20 bin insan Akdeniz'de azgın dalgaların kurbanı oldu. Sahra çölünün cehennem sıcağında binlerce masum hayatını kaybetti. Bugün mülteci sorunu diye genelleştirdiğimiz meselenin arka planında büyük bir dram, acı bir hikaye vardır. Sahile vuran minik çocuk cesetleri bu sorunun artık daha fazla görmezden gelinemeyeceğini tüm dünyaya göstermiştir. Bütün bunları çatışmaların ve düzensiz göç hareketlerinin uzağında bir ülkenin cumhurbaşkanı olarak söylemiyorum. Birleşmiş Milletler verilerine göre dünyada en fazla sığınmacıya ev sahipliği yapan bir ülkenin devlet başkanı olarak ifade ediyorum. Türkiye aynı zamanda insani yardımlarda milli gelire oranla dünyanın bir numaralı ülkesidir. Hiçbir ülkenin günümüz dünyasında mülteci sorununa coğrafi uzaklık, yakınlık merceğinden bakma lüksü yoktur. dünyanın devasa bir köye dönüştüğü, mesafelerin anlamını yitirdiği bir dönemde hepimizin kaderi ortaktır. Bugünkü toplantımızın mülteci ve göç krizinin insani bir bakış açısıyla yeniden ele alınmasına vesile olmasını diliyorum. Küresel Mülteci Forumu'nun gözlerini ve gönüllerini bize yöneltmiş tüm mazlumlara umut olmasını temenni ediyorum. Değerli dostlar, Türkiye düzensiz göç ve mülteci akınlarının yükünü dünyada en ağır hisseden ülkelerin başında geliyor. Şu an sadece 3,7 milyonu Suriyeli olmak üzere 5 milyona yakın yerinden edilmiş kişiye ev sahipliği yapıyoruz. Suriye'de çatışmalar başladıktan sonra açık kapı politikası uygulayarak ülkemize sığınan hiç kimseyi geri göndermedik. İmkanları bizden kat be kat fazla ülkeler mültecilere sayıları onlarla ifade edilen kotalar koyarken biz ırk, din, dil, etnik köken ayrımı yapmadan herkese kucak açtık. Birkaç münferit hadise dışında hamdolsun mültecileri ötekileştirecek, dışlayacak, onları düşmanlaştıracak hiçbir üzücü olay yaşanmadı. Devlet olarak vatandaşlarımıza hangi imkanları sağlıyorsak ülkemize sığınanlara da aynısını sağlıyoruz. Zira varil bombalarından kaçan insanlara biz kapımızı kapayamazdık. Çünkü onlar birer insandı. Suriyeli kardeşlerimizin kendi kendilerine yeter konuma gelmeleri için eğitimden sağlığa, istihdamdan kadınlar ve çocuklar gibi hassas kesimlerin korunmasına kadar gereken her türlü çabayı gösteriyoruz. Bakınız burada özetin özeti diyebileceğim bazı rakamları sizlerle paylaşmak istiyorum. Eğitim çağındaki 1 milyon Suriyeli çocuğun 685 binine okul imkanı tanıyoruz. Okul çağındaki Suriyeli çocukların okullaşma oranını 5 yılda %30'dan %63'e çıkardık. 34 bin Suriyelinin ülkemizde lisans ve lisansüstü eğitim almasının önünü açtık. Dünya genelinde mültecilerin yüksek öğretime erişim oranı %1 iken Türkiye'de bu oran %6'dır. Bugüne kadar 21.300 Suriyeliye yüksek öğrenim ve Türkçe dil bursu verdik. Suriyeli ve diğer göçmen çocukların evlatlarımızla beraber aynı sınıflarda eğitim almasını temin ettik. Sağlık hizmetlerine erişimi kolaylaştırmak amacıyla Suriyelilerin yoğun olarak yaşadıkları yerlerde göçmen sağlığı merkezleri inşa ettik. Bu merkezlerde 678 Suriyeli hekim ile 954 Suriyeli ebe ve hemşire görev yapıyor. Son 8 yılda ülkemizde 516 bin civarında Suriyeli bebek dünyaya gelmiştir. Bu bebeklerin de her türlü sağlık imkanından faydalanmasını temin ettik. Suriyelilere yönelik entegrasyon faaliyetlerimizde her alanda devam ediyor. Halkımızın ve mültecilerin bir araya gelerek birbirlerini yakından tanımaları için özellikle Suriyeli nüfusun yoğun olduğu illerimizde Suriyeli bütün bu nüfusun sosyal ve kültürel etkinlikler onlar için icra ediyoruz. Küresel mutabakatın 4 temel hedefinden biri olan mültecilerin kendi kendilerine yetebilmeleri için farklı projeleri devreye aldık. Suriyelilerin çalışma izni almalarının yasal zeminini hazırladık. Ayrıca Suriyelileri istihdam eden işverenlerin çalışma izin harçlarının düşürülmesi gibi yöntemlerle Suriyelilerin istihdamını teşvik ediyoruz. Her ilimizde mültecilere yönelik dil ve meslek edindirme kursları açtık. Bugün ülkemizdeki birçok Suriyeli artık kendi ayaklarının üzerinde durabilir konuma geldi. Suriyelilere insani yardım faaliyetlerimiz ise aralıksız devam ediyor. Türk Kızılayı, AFAD ve sivil toplum kuruluşlarımızca ülkemizde 1 milyonu aşkın Suriyeliye psikososyal destek ve geçim yardımı sağlıyoruz. Aynı zamanda Suriye içerisinde yerlerinden edilmiş kişilere de düzenli insani yardım ulaştırıyoruz. Hassas durumdaki mültecilerin tespitine ve korunmasına özel önem atfediyoruz. Birleşmiş Milletler'in hassasiyet ölçütleri doğrultusunda mültecilerin ihtiyaçlarına süratle cevap verebilmek için koruma masaları kurduk. Sığınmacılar için bütçemizden harcadığımız rakam Birleşmiş Milletler kriterlerine göre şu an itibariyle 40 milyar doları aşmıştır. Aynı dönemde dışarıdan ülkemize gelen yardımlar ise son derece kısıtlıdır. Avrupa Birliği'nin bize verdiği söz vardır. 3+3 milyar avro bu kurumlara destek vereceğiz demişlerdir. Şu an itibariyle ne yazık ki Avrupa Birliği'nden bu STK'lara gelen destek ancak 2 milyar avroya ulaşmış durumdadır. Durumun ne olduğunu göstermesi bakımından herhalde bu çok büyük önem arz ediyor. Hala ikinci 3 milyar için herhangi bir ses yok. Bundan da tahsis edilen 450 milyon avro geliyor diyorlar ama gelmiş değil. Bu vesileyle Birleşmiş Milletler Mülteciler Yüksek Komiserliğine ülkemizde sergiledikleri dayanışma için teşekkürü bir borç biliyorum. Gerek Sayın Guterres, gerekse Sayın Grandi daima ülkemize destek olmuş, meseleye sahip çıkmışlardır. Kıymetli misafirler, mülteci meselesinin bizim gibi bu insanlara layıkıyla ev sahipliği yapan birkaç ülkenin çabalarıyla önlenemeyeceği açıktır. Vicdanları yaralayan bu sorunun sürdürülebilir şekilde çözülmesi ancak küresel düzeyde atılacak adımlara bağlıdır. Küresel sahiplenme konusunda halen arzu edilen seviyenin çok uzağında olduğumuzu görüyorum. Geçtiğimiz yıl kabul edilen küresel mülteci mutabakatının uygulanmasına önem veriyoruz. Küresel mülteci formunun mutabakat hükümlerinin hayata geçirilmesi sürecinde önemli bir adım olmasını temenni ediyorum. Öte yandan Suriye kaynaklı göç probleminin tek çözüm yolu mültecilerin bizim sınırlarımız içinde tutulması olarak görülemez. Türkiye'nin uluslararası toplum adına 9 yıldır tek başına taşıdığı bu sorumluluğu diğer ülkeler paylaşmakla mükelleftir. Mültecileri kendi topraklarında tutacak, ülkemizde olanları da tekrar vatanlarına döndürecek formüllerin devreye alınması gerekiyor. Mültecilerin terk etmek zorunda bırakıldıkları yurtlarına geri dönüş hakkı tartışma götürmez. Suriye'de kalıcı istikrar ve normalleşmenin tesisinde geri dönüşler en az terörle mücadele kadar önemlidir. Birçok devlet başkanıyla, liderlerle bu konuları görüşüyorum. Örneğin Suriye'nin kuzeyinde gelin bir güvenli bölge tesis edelim dediğimde hepsi gayet güzel diyorlar. Çünkü ortada bir terör koridoru var. Siz destek verin, bakın plan hazır, projeler hazır ve bunu bir an önce yapalım dediğimizde dünyanın devleri, parası en çok olanlar sadece bize gülücük atıyorlar. Destek vermeye gelince destek ne yazık ki yok. Bakın şu anda Afganistan'dan, İran üzerinden gelip Yunanistan'a, Avrupa'ya gidenler var. Ne yapıyoruz? Mecburen onları tekrar alıp tekrar Afganistan'a göndermek durumunda kalıyoruz. Aynı şekilde az önce Pakistan Başbakanı kardeşim İmran Khan ifade etti. Afganistan'dan Pakistan'a giden mülteciler var. Sayılar çok yüksek. Bunlarla bu mücadeleyi verebilmek o da yine ayrı bir sorun, ayrı bir dert. Ama hepsinden daha önemlisine geliyorum. O da Myanmar Arakan sorunu. Ve orada yaşananları bir kenara koymak o da mümkün değil. Açlık var, sefalet var, barınacakları yer yok. Ancak buna tabii ki hep birlikte dünyada insana sahip çıkan, insan diye bir derdi olan bütün ülkelerin destek vermesi lazım ve bu konuda Birleşmiş Milletler Mülteciler Yüksek Komiserliğini bizim yalnız bırakmamamız lazım. Birçok batılı dostumuz Suriye kaynaklı düzensiz göç meselesine sadece güvenlik ve çıkar penceresinden bakmayı tercih etti. Dikenli tel örgülerin Avrupa'yı mülteci akınından koruyacağı gibi son derece yanlış bir düşünceye prim verildi. Hatta çözüm yolu olarak Akdeniz'deki mülteci botlarının batırılması dahil ileride utançla hatırlanacak önerilerle karşılaştık. Ve bu botları şişleyerek batırdılar ve o insanları Akdeniz'in sularına gömdüler. Irkçı partiler başta olmak üzere kimi siyasetçilerin mülteci düşmanlığı üzerinden oy yarışına girdiğini gördük. DAEŞ terörü bahanesiyle Suriye topraklarından sınır illerimize saldıran, kan döken, Suriye'de etnik temizlik yapan terör örgütlerine destek verildi. Suriye'de 9 yıldır yaşanan insanlık dramını Halep'teki şu duvar yazısı çok net anlatmaktadır. Suriye'de ölen çocuklardan kan yerine petrol aksaydı dünya anında müdahale ederdi. Evet, petrol kuyularını koruma uğruna harcanan çabaların hiçbiri canından arzu ettiğimiz desteği göremeyince biz de başımızın çaresine bakmak zorunda kaldık. Fırat Kalkanı ve Zeytin Dalı harekatları ile önce 4000 kilometre karelik alanı DAEŞ ve YPG PKK teröründen temizledik. Soçi mutabakatıyla İdlib'de yaklaşık 4 milyonu etkileyecek büyük bir insani trajedinin önüne geçtik. 9 Ekim'de başlattığımız Barış Pınarı Harekatı ile ise Suriye sınırımızda 120 kilometre genişliğinde, 30 kilometre derinliğinde bir alanı tüm terör unsurlarından arındırdık. Böylece 8200 kilometre karelik bir bölge terör örgütlerinden kurtarılmış oldu. Ben de sesleniyorum. Diyorum ki o petrol kuyularında bulunan petrolü gelin beraber çıkaralım. Ondan sonra o terör bölgesine şu projeleri uygulayarak şu anda mülteci halinde olan bu insanları o yaptığımız evlere, okullara, hastanelere, barınmaları için oraya yerleştirelim. Ama buna yanaşmıyorlar. Çünkü petrol onlara daha çok lazım. YPG PKK terör örgütünün sivillere hedef alan saldırılarına rağmen bu bölgeler halihazırda Suriye'nin en yaşanabilir, en huzurlu alanlarıdır. Suriyeli mültecilerin gönüllü ve güvenli olarak kendi evlerine dönüşlerinden kimlerin, hangi güçlerin rahatsız olduğunu biliyoruz. Filistinli mültecileri vatan hasretine mahkum edenlerin aynı zulmü, aynı senaryoyu Suriye'de tekrarlamasına izin verilmemelidir. Şu anda Filistinli mülteciler nerede yaşıyor? Ürdün'de yaşıyor. Lübnan'da yaşıyor. Peki Filistinli mültecilere yönelik herhangi bir şey var mı? Tam aksine. Tam aksine onların diğer kalan yerlerinin de nasıl işgal ederiz? Bunun hesaplarını yapanlar var. Ülkemizin güvenli hale getirdiği bölgelere şimdiye kadar 371 bin Suriyeli gönüllü olarak geri döndü. Birleşmiş Milletler 74. Genel Kurulu'nda gündeme getirdiğim projeyi hayata geçirebilirsek bu sayının ilk etapta 1 milyonu bulacağına inanıyorum. Sayın Genel Sekreter ve Yüksek Komiserle de paylaştığım projemizi sizlerin desteği ve katkısı ile gerçekleştirmeyi ümit ediyoruz. Bu amaçla önümüzdeki dönemde bir donörler konferansı düzenlemeyi arzu ediyoruz. Birleşmiş Milletler'in bu konuda ön ayak olmasına önem veriyoruz. Değerli katılımcılar, mülteci krizine kalıcı çözümlerden bir diğeri mültecilere 3. ülkelerde hayatlarını devam ettirmeleri için imkan sağlanmasıdır. Bu hususta da ne yazık ki arzu edilen seviyenin çok uzağındayız. Özellikle hassas durumdaki mülteciler için 3. ülkelere yeniden yerleştirme kotalarının çok düşük düzeyde olduğunu görüyoruz. Mültecilerin yüzleştiği sorunların ilk sıralarında son yıllarda artış gösteren yabancı düşmanı ve göçmen karşıtı söylemler geliyor. Her şeyini geride bırakmış insanların dramları üzerinden siyaset yapmak, toplumdaki ön yargıları kaşıyarak siyasi rant peşinde düşmek utanç vericidir. Filistinli mültecilere verilen yardımları keserek onları yokluk ve yoksullukla terbiye etmeye çalışmak da aynı şekilde insanlık dışıdır. Toplumsal huzur ve barışı sağlamak için ayrımcı politikalarla mücadele edilmesi ve mültecilerin toplumla uyumunun teşvik edilmesi mevcut krizlerin aşılması bakımından önemlidir. Ülkemiz kamuoyunda olumsuz algı oluşmaması için basından ve sosyal medyadan da istifade ederek mültecilerle ilgili doğru bilinen yanlışları düzeltme yönünde özel çaba harcıyor. Alanında bir ilki teşkil eden küresel mülteci forumunun ortak geleceğimiz için özellikle hayra vesile olmasını temenni ediyorum. Değerli kardeşlerim, 15. yüzyılda Engizisyon'dan kaçan Musevilere sahip çıkan 3 asır önce tahtımı veririm, tacımı veririm ama devletime sığınanları vermem diyen bir ecdadın torunları olarak bu konuda elimizden gelen çabayı göstermeye devam edeceğiz. Bu düşüncelerle sözlerime son verirken bir kez daha Sayın Genel Sekretere ve Yüksek Komisere teşekkürlerimi sunuyorum. Kalın sağlıcakla.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to thank all the co-conveners for their intervention. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to now invite to the podium Aya Mohammed Abdallah, one of the founding members of our Global Youth Advisory Council, to introduce our next session, which will be entitled Broadening the Base. In this session, which will conclude our morning section of the forum, a number of important partners will briefly announce contributions and pledges towards the objectives of the Global Compact on Refugees. Mr. Aya Mohammed Abdallah, you are welcome to join us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and my pleasure to be with you today. As a refugee and as an alumni for the Global Refugee Advisory Council. Today, I have the unique opportunity to be a voice for more than 70 million displaced persons around the world. 25.9 of them are refugees. As you listen to this voice, I ask you to look past the shocking number of us who inhabit this planet to the actual word person. Because every one of these people has an individual life. Each of those lives has been affected from the second that that person has to flee his or her home. I am no different. Like each of these refugees, I have a name and a home. My name is Aya Abdullah, and I'm from Baghdad, Iraq. I became a displaced person at the age of 14 when the situation in my beloved home country degraded to the point my family and I could no longer remain safely. Upon my family's arrival to Syria, I officially became a refugee registered with the UNHCR. And my story of life away of home began. At 14, no one wants to feel that all the doors have closed. When I hurriedly packed my bags to leave my home, I included my textbooks because I knew how important an education is for success in life, and I intended to succeed in my life. As strange as it may sound, I was fortunate to start my life as a refugee in Syria because the official language was Arabic. As a result, the day after I arrived, I was immediately able to enroll in school and resume my studies. I was incredibly lucky because I was one of the very few refugees in the world who could continue to study in school system upon arrival to the country of refuge. I really believe that one of the keys to integrating refugees into their host communities and countries is enabling them to be educated in local schools. As a refugee in a new country, I could have felt lost, but my new school gave me my confidence back and made me feel home. For this, I will always be grateful to Syria. Sadly, only 2 years after my arrival, the Syrian conflict broke out and my family and I found our life disrupted again. This time, our fortunes took us to Turkey, which shook me and my family out of the comfortable culture of Arabic traditions and language and placed us in new situations with new challenges. No longer able placing refugees in normal life situations, not camps, is essential both for well-being and their potential to contribute to their host country. Living as neighbors, my family and I became friends with those in our community. This inclusion is imperative for refugees, especially the youngest, to avoid becoming a lost generation who is excluded. For offering this possibility to myself, my family, and countless others, I'm so grateful to Turkey. 6 years later, I have now found myself and my family relocated to Switzerland. Today, I'm one of only 3% of refugees in the world enrolled in higher education. I'm pursuing a bachelor degree in international relations and media communication at Webster University in Geneva. As part of my studies, I am taking a course on refugees and migration movement, learning the history of how countries and citizens across the ages have both rejected and welcomed refugees at various points in the past. I'm grateful to Switzerland for having welcomed me and offered me and my family the chance to integrate here in this new country of refuge, where I stand a chance of creating a better life for myself, my family, and the world. As you can see from my story, I'm one of those 70 million displaced people, living, breathing, a human being, with friends, family, dreams, goals, and desire to make the world a better place. Speaking as such a person, I encourage you all to look at what will happen today as an opportunity to help each of those displaced people, individuals like myself and my family, to live a normal life through the UNHCR's hashtag Everyone Counts campaign. During this course of our meetings, let us focus on the idea that displaced people are people too. Today, let us recognize that we are making history because this is the first time we have a chance to not only learn from our history, but ensure that we do not recreate the same mistakes. I would like to be remembered as that young woman who was, I don't want to be remembered as the refugee who was only just a statistic. Today, I want to be known to all of you as Aya. I don't want to be remembered as a refugee who most of people would assume had reached a dead end, but I want to be remembered as Aya speaking on the world stage, brimming with optimism because of the opportunities I'm grasping. And as I stand on this stage, I speak on behalf of the forcibly displaced population to remind you all that having fled war and persecution, we are the world's greatest ambassadors for peace. Today, I call on you, leaders in your countries, to speak the truth. Refugees are people who are by their nature peaceful. Believe in us, invest in us, and you will see. We will be all stronger for it. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask you, how would you like to be remembered? I hope that you will be remembered as the change makers who supported and believed in refugees, as the leaders who recognize the potential of how refugees can contribute to your home countries. And now, I'm honored to welcome some of the leaders in this room who have chosen to step up and make commitments towards realizing this dream. I would like to welcome Mr. Axel van Trustenberg, Managing Director of Operations for the World Bank Group.
Audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live